Hi, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stuff. A question. Have you ever had to choose between one extreme or another? Have you had to choose between love and destiny, family or country, or wrong? We'll be talking about what it means to be swept up into destiny. Coming up next, right here on The Right Stuff. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the best, the only place to be on Tuesday night. That's right, you're listening to The Right Stuff, and you're at the right place at the right time. From England to Canada, from Detroit to the Poconos, we are showcasing Christian authors worldwide, giving you tips, tools, techniques, and resources for you, the writer, to hone and perfect your craft. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time right here on WPJC 104.5. And your host, Parker J. Cole.
I am so glad you are here with me today for this edition of the show. We are going to have a phenomenal talking to my guest co-host and contributor today, Catherine Brakefield. She is the author of the new book, Swept into Destiny. And by the time you finish this book, you will completely understand what it means to be swept into destiny. And we'll be talking to her in just a few moments. I want to first of all thank you for all your support of my book. My new book, Time to Say Goodbye, will be coming out very soon. I'm still working out the kinks, still getting some of the script ready. It will be coming out very soon. All you have to do to get an ARC of my book is sign up for my newsletter on my website, parkerjcole.com. And I'm looking forward to next month. Do you know what next month is? Next month, I will be at the Southern California Christian Writers Conference, the very first Christian Writers Conference in Southern California. I am looking forward to seeing you all there. Make sure you register for the conference. It's going to University in La Mirada. Simply Google Southern California Christian Writers Conference. You are not going to be disappointed. There is so much going on at that conference, all kinds of workshops. I'll be teaching 2 of those workshops. And some of you know I do advocate for a little bit of edgier Christian fiction and stuff like that. And so I'll be talking about taboo subjects in Christian fiction and also using harsh language and swear words in Christian fiction. I'll be talking about that, do's and don'ts, and all that kind of good stuff. So I definitely want to see you there at this conference. You are going to absolutely love it. There is still time to register. Go ahead, come to this conference. You are going to enjoy it. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break. Come back, we'll be talking to Catherine Brakefield. Again, she is the author of the new book that just dropped today from Cross River Media. For those of you who know Cross River Media, you know that they are the ones who published R.J. Thesman's Reverend G series I've had on the show several times. And so you definitely want to get this new offering from Cross River Media. I want to thank the folks at Cross River Media for allowing me to talk to their author today. You want to weigh in? You certainly can by calling in at 646-668-8485, then press 1 to be live on air, or you can hit me on Twitter at ParkerJCole, #RightStuff, with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Have you read the latest issue of SORMAG Digital, the award-winning literary magazine for multicultural readers and writers? SORMAG Digital is available quarterly and showcases interviews with the best authors in multicultural literature. SORMAG Digital features craft and business articles for those interested in writing. If you're looking for a good book, check out our book reviews on what's hot in multicultural literature. For writers looking for a new reader to get in front of, SORMAG Digital is the perfect place to introduce your book. We offer advertising spaces that fit your promotional budget. Get your free subscription on SORMAG.com or order a print issue on MagCloud.com. If you would like more information about SORMAG Digital, check us out on SORMAG.com or contact us at SORMAG@yahoo.com. SORMAG Digital is the magazine for multicultural readers and writers.
Engaging the culture's imagination through speculative fiction, the Untold Podcast produces audio fiction from a Christian worldview. Find us over at untoldpodcast.com, where we partner with authors to tell science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, and horror stories. Find links at untoldpodcast.com to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, and a variety of other platforms. Each month we produce high-quality audio fiction that's free to download and free to listen. Our submissions are open, and we're always looking to add another great story to over 24 hours of narrative entertainment. Find all of our audio fiction over at www.untoldpodcast.com.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Right Stuff here on WPAC 4.5. Again, so glad you are here with me. One of the things I want to talk about on the edition of The Right Stuff is being swept into destiny. And as we go into this book, which is a phenomenal book, I enjoyed this book. I was telling Catherine about it before the show started. I just really enjoyed the depth of her visualization of the characters, the conflicts that's going on, the thread of history and historical facts going on through it. I just really love this. And so by the time you finish reading this book, you're going to be swept into destiny. This book, you can get it fresh, hot off the press today. It just dropped today from Crossover Media, and I want to thank Crossover again for letting me have Catherine on the show today. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest co-host and contributor today, Catherine Brakefield. Kathy, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm so happy to be here with you.
And I'm happy to have you, too. I'm really looking forward to delving dirty into this book. I can't wait to get into it because there's so much here. But before I do that, I can always read your bio and see how we introduce you. So go ahead and tell us who you are in your own words.
Okay, sure, yeah. Well, I'm, Catherine Arch Brakefield, and this would be my fifth book. And I love the outdoors, more than anything than being inside, tell you the truth, but my passion for writing. And I enjoy swimming and horseback riding, and I love to travel. In fact, I met my husband on the 747 jet going to Hawaii.
Oh, man.
He was stationed in Oahu, yeah, in the naval base, naval intelligence there. Isn't that amazing?
Wow,
and we communicated
fun.
for a couple of years, and we ended up getting married. And then the next love of my life was my children. And then now I'm thoroughly enjoying the thrill of being a grandmother.
When you say horseback riding, and this is not the first time I've said this on the show, I just have a hard time getting on a horse. I met a horse once in my life. I was at a Renaissance festival here in Michigan, the Renaissance Festival. They have it every year. And I saw the horse. The horse was taller than me, and I freaked out. I said, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. All the horse did was turn its head and look at me, and I was like, we're done. We're done. I can't anymore.
Gosh.
I don't like pets. And the one little girl behind me, she was just rubbing its nose and rubbing its face, and I was like, get away from me. So I have a dog, and that's my pet, that's my baby, but not a horse. I couldn't see myself.
Oh, wow. And I think I rode before I could walk behind my dad. He would go galloping through the fields, and I'd be holding on to his belt.
You're like, oh, my gosh. See, I couldn't even imagine. That. But I guess with your love for the outdoors, that is also reflected in your writing styles. We're going to talk about it in just a few minutes. But go ahead. What does your journey to writing look like? How did all that come about?
Well, I never thought I'd be a writer. It was like really my writing experience was like a patchwork quilt with me looking on the backside all the time with all the little the spiderwebs moving all around and everywhere because I thought I could never do it. I loved to read. I read all the time. But then when my grandmother came to live with me, she ended up living with me for 12 years, and she died here in my house. Her stories just inspired me, and I was writing down everything she was telling me. And then I realized I've got to write a novel. I just got to do it. I wrote for newspapers and I wrote for magazines, but I thought a novel was way too much. And I realized that was what I had to do, and I felt like that was my calling all of a sudden.
I like how you said about your grandmother because I also have a very special bond with my grandmother. And with my grandmother, she taught me how to read and to write. And so I always gift the gift of writing. I always give to her because she taught me how to read and write. And so I really feel that connection with you when you say about your grandmother. They're so important. I don't think we can emphasize how important our grandparents are, especially with grandparents who invest into us. I really like that we have that same connection there. And so, your fiction, a lot kind of like historical fiction. So tell us, what is it about historical fiction that you enjoy so much?
Well, I love learning about the historical facts and the characters, really. I mean, meeting the people again, like with Swept into Destiny, it was Lincoln and Grant, and then this Dr. Isaac Anderson, which I found out about later on as I did more research for the book. I don't know. It just seems like then my imagination goes out. I keep thinking to myself, my gosh, what was it like back then? What was it? What did it feel like? Without horses, without television, without my cell phone. It was
the end of civilization.
How did they survive? Honestly, but they probably survived better than we do. Tell you the truth, they talked more.
They probably did. I remember one time at work, the air conditioner went off for 2 days, and I felt like we were at the end of civilization. I totally felt like there is no air conditioning. I cannot work, and I was like, we should be able to go home. And the boss was like, why should we be able to go home? Because there's no air. Because I'm dying. I remember saying that, and they would let us go home. And I felt as if they were treating us cruel and unusual. I totally thought they were doing that. And then back in the days, the air conditioner was, fanning yourself with a fan. There's your AC, personal AC that can do that. And I think I like how you mentioned how you like to learn about the history, learn about the historical facts, and how you visit. In your book, you visit, Lincoln and Grant, and you talk about this conflict between the states and why this is such a big deal now. What I do like about history is that history is circular, and it comes back around again. Wouldn't you say that some of the things that's going on right now in our country is being reflected? Even though your book's totally different viewpoint, but it's still being reflected in our states today.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just, I often heard when I was a younger child, history repeats itself, and I didn't really understood it then, but now I understand it because I can see it happening before our very eyes. It's simply amazing, and that's why Swept into Destiny is a book for the generation now to read. To see how they coped with the problems that they had, and how they came up, and how the Lord brought them out of this problem. It definitely is. Eye-opener to realize, hey, guess what? They were in the antebellum era, only in the 21st century, It's just amazing to me. And it's also amazing to me how the Lord pulled them through this, and it was definitely, by divine intervention. It's when you think about what the two states, what the country was like, hating each other, killing each other. It was amazing. Yet now, and then now the South is a Bible Belt of the United States. It's a God thing. It's a God thing all the way through. We can learn from this very much so now in our generation.
What I like too is that history. It's a history is new things. Old things to people. Now, so I see that happening because there's a lot of racial tension in the country today. There's a lot of racial tension. Where it stems from, I can speculate to the end of time where it stems from. But there's a lot of racial tension here. Except in the Destiny, their racial tension is there too. And there are people who are caught in the middle of this racial tension. I think a lot of us are. Most of us are like, I don't care whether you're green, white, dot blue. I don't hate you because of your color. But there are some out there who are propagating this idea. And so you have all this racial tension coming about. And one thing I appreciate about Swept into Destiny is that you are tackling it head on, not sugarcoating it. You're letting people know, hey, especially in the beginning of the book, especially when we talk, as we get into the book, we talk about how the Irish were hated. They were actually called white slaves. And a lot of people may not be aware of that. And so I want to talk about that too as we get into your book here. But another question I wanted to ask you is, why should history be important for us? Because we all write stories, we write speculative fiction, we write, sci-fi, steampunk, or whatever. We all write different stuff. But why should history be important for writers?
I think because it helps us have a perspective of our future. Why make the same mistake twice? Really. That's what I feel like. That's why I listen to my grandmother and my mother. They always say to me, why do I make the same mistake twice, Kathy? I know I've been through there, done that. Don't do it. Don't do this, And I'm thinking like this is the same with history. Why make the same mistake again? Come on, guys. Wise up, Yeah. And that's what the Irish are considered the white slaves. They were beneath beneath the slave, beneath it. They got the work the slaves were too good to do. They were too better. They were better than they were worse than the slaves. And yet they didn't They didn't cry about it. They didn't suck their thumbs. They said, we're going to prove to them, we're going to prove to America that we're good. And they did it. That's why in the Irish, during the Civil War, my gosh, they put the Irish up front before anybody else. They got all the bullets, And the Irish knew that, and they just, you know what? Guys, we're going to show them we can do this. We're going to show them that we are worthy of being an American, and they embraced America. They didn't try to make Irish in America. They wanted to be American 24/7 all the way. They wanted the liberty. They wanted people to say, hey, they embraced freedom because like Ben said, freedom is a rare thing in Ireland, And the biggest thing was like 2 Corinthians 3:17 says, now the Lord is a spirit, and where the spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And they believe that. Even the Irish cross that they have up in the Celtic cross is in Gettysburg, and it's not about an Irish person. It's about the Celtic cross. It's about this is where it's at, guys. We know where we're going when this battle's over. We're going to be with Jesus. That's all it is. I mean, it was just amazing to me the more research I did on this, and I realized they really knew their Jesus. They really did, and we need to know them too. So, anyway.
No, it's amazing because we're showing I think it's amazing. We're showing the correlation between people who were thought of as slaves and people who were slaves, African Americans who were slaves, and the Irish people who were considered slaves, and how Jesus liberated them both. Because eventually what happened, a lot of Irish people got very involved in abolitionist work too. A lot of Irish people got involved in that too. Because you've been there, when you've been there, you know the pain there. And I wanted to make that very clear because no one ethnic group kind of holds the banner for being treated wrong. And I'm going to prove it to you by reading real quickly just a few verses in Romans chapter 3. And he said, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way. They together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. And then he goes on further and say, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the way of peace have they not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. And I think that's very important because a lot of people think, well, this ethnic group has been treated the worst. This ethnic group hasn't treated the worst. I got to break it to you. There's not one that hasn't been treated badly. There's not one that hasn't been treated badly.
Amen.
But when I say things like that, I get
I agree because you know what? Satan's not partial.
No,
he's not.
No,
and all he does is make us feel like, well, you've been picked on. Oh, you poor thing, you've been picked on a lot. Just get upset with everybody and get mad. You can't do that. That's not the way to do it. That's not a Christian thing. You got to be a Christian thing. Let God handle. Give it to the Lord. He'll take care of it. He really will. Yeah, every ethnic group, every race, everybody has always been persecuted. Sometime it's happened. But how we handle it is the most important thing.
And that's important, especially nowadays. And like when I say things like this, some people may get upset with me because they're saying, well, you're not being realistic. I'm not saying that people haven't had degrees of persecution. I'm not saying that. There have been some people who have been treated horribly. We don't have to look any further about that, and we don't have to look any further than that. But it's just to make sure that we understand people have been treating people like crud for a very long time. It's not just like a 21st century or a 20th century phenomenon. It's been happening for a long time. And that's why I read Romans 3 because he lets us know there is none righteous, no, not one.
Amen.
And so
Amen.
As we continue to talk about that, this really adds to our discussion. We talk about Swept into Destiny with Catherine Brakefield and her book. And so that's why I definitely want you to go ahead and get a copy of this today. You're going to love it. The language in this book is very rich. It's very detailed. You can actually smell the swamp. You can see her drag at the house. You can look at how these men, how dirty they were on the outside, but their hearts were better on the inside. There's a lot of stuff going on in her book. You definitely want to get this off of Cross River Media today. Go ahead, buy a copy of it today. Loving my sister, Catherine Brakefield. The name of the book is Swept into Destiny. When we come back, we'll be getting more into Destiny with my wonderful guest co-host and contributor. If you want to weigh in, you certainly can by calling at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on me on Twitter at Parker J. Cole, #RightStuff with your questions and comments. We're ahead and take a quick short break. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Hi. Is your book club in need of some fresh and exciting questions to ask club members and authors at your next book club meeting? Literations, the book conversation game, is 70 thought-provoking questions to really get into an in-depth discussion about the books you and your club members are reading. These questions really get into the characters, the storyline, and into the author's head. These questions may just give you and your book club members a whole new way to get into a new conversation, a literation. Literations is also a great set of tools for bloggers, interviewers, and authors to use as discussion questions. Are you ready to get lit? Please visit our website at litversations.com, LITVERSATION.com. And please like our Facebook page at Simply Said Reading Accessories. Thank you.
Question: if you write a book, everybody will rush out to buy it. Obvious answer: no. If you were a celebrity or if you had a huge marketing budget, then maybe you can get a lot of exposure for your book. Another solution would be to check out joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com is a promotion and marketing service with access to over 1/3 followers on Twitter. joeytweets.com has 3 packages available to fit any budget. That's joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com. Get some serious exposure for your books.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guest, right here on The Right Stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. You are listening to the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J., and we are talking to Phil. She is the author of the fabulous new historical, Swept into Destiny. It is live today on Amazon.com, available from Cross River Media. Those of you who know, Cross River is a friend of this show. I've had their authors on here before. They produce wonderful work. So make sure you get a copy of Swept into Destiny today. And Kathy, once again, thanks for being with me on the show. Having such a fun time talking about your book, Swept into Destiny. Just having a really, really good time. I really liked how before the break we talked about why it's important for to know about history. And you mentioned that we need to know because put in perspective of what's going on. We kind of talked about how going back and forth, we see the same things that happened then happening now. And so I wanted to ask you your thoughts on this too. We talked about how writers benefit from history, but how the readers benefit from it as well.
Well, I think the reader gets, like you said, you can feel, you can smell the food, and you can feel the moisture in the swamp, this sort of stuff. I think the reader, instead of reading I hate to say, a boring history book, read a novel that has a history facts in it. You'll enjoy history better. You'll enjoy the feel. You'll feel hot. You'll feel sweaty. You'll feel what the history characters really went through back in that age and back in that time. Plus, you'll get the same kind of history that you had gotten in a history book too, but you get a more of a in-depth view of it, and you'll see it through the character's eyes. You can make your own decisions because it's just one character's opinion. There's another character that has a different opinion. You can make your own opinion, but the best part about it is you can be that character. You can step into her shoes or his shoes, and you can walk that walk. You can ride that horse without fear either, and enjoy the trip.
I love it. I love it.
That's the most. That is the most important thing, especially with a historical novel, because you can use your imagination. It's better than a movie because you can use your imagination. You can be that character. You can feel that person. There's so much more a book gives you than even a movie gives you, because you don't hear the person's thoughts. Well, you do hear the thoughts in a novel, So I mean, that's a lot of my readers will say to me, "Oh, you know what? My other book was, she said, oh, Rachel it's just like me, and it's just wonderful. Yeah. I love to hear that. Oh, I do. I love to hear that because then I know I've done a good job because that person can feel that other that my heroine and understand that and can relate. That's the most important part of my writing because also reviews are so important to a writer. Like you know that too, because without them, we don't know if we're doing a good job or not. You know, we're in our own little niche here, typing away, getting these characters on paper. But did the reader get it? Are they feeling what I want them to feel? Did I do a bad job or did I do a good job? We don't know until we hear from our readers, you know, and they review and they let us know how we're doing, you know. We need that pat in the back sometimes just to know we're going the right direction, you know, and that we're doing what the Lord wants us to do. That's important, too.
I was thinking about one of the most famous historical novels ever. Is Gone with the Wind, and I read Gone with the Wind when I was in high school, and I actually enjoyed Gone with the Wind. And apparently, I found out from one of our guests who's been on the show. Her name's Piper. She's a professor of African American history at Spelman. But Piper was telling me that type of book was actually a lost type of book. It's almost plantation fiction, you know, and just how they view things differently during that time period. And yeah, you can see some of the erroneous thinking of back then, but it's still history. And I think there's an honesty to the historical fiction that isn't known now. I was thinking about, and I'm not going to too deep into this, just a thought to bring about as we talk about our conversation. We're talking about the Confederate flag, and there are a lot of people who have a lot of various viewpoints and thoughts about the Confederate flag. You know, they're like it's a symbol of history, it's a symbol of the South, a symbol of racism. You're going back and forth, back and forth. And I'm not going to get into that, but what I'm saying is that the history, even that's part of history. If whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's part of history. And
that's right.
Embrace all of that. We need to whitewash it. That's what I think. I don't think we need to whitewash the bad stuff that happens too. You know, think about a lot of things that have been done. There have been Christians who have been extremely cruel to others in the name of God, but we don't hide from it. We don't try to whitewash it. We said that is not the way it's supposed to be. We know we did wrong. And that's why I read Romans 3 earlier, where he said there's none that doeth good, no, not one. No one's righteous, you know. And I think we need to remember that while we're all jumping on our soapbox and teaching. We need to remember that no one's got it perfect here, you know. And that's what about your book, Swept into Destiny, because you're showing these imperfect people swept in the war, or swept into, you know, am I doing right or wrong? You know, like Maggie, she's trying to teach the children something she's not supposed to be doing. She's supposed to do that because that's not what you do. Is yes, she's going against conventions of your time. I mean, how does it feel to be going against the conventions of your time? Some of us as Christians, we find ourselves even now going against the convention of popular opinion. We're going against that. How do you stand when you have so much opposition against you? And so that's why I really like Swept into Destiny. Lots of good conflict going on there. And so what I want to do is give our readers have you a little bit peel back the veil of what Swept into Destiny is all about. So go ahead and tell us what Swept into Destiny is about.
Well, Swept into Destiny is about really a real feisty Southern belle named Maggie Gatlin, who, though she loves her South, you know, and she reveres, you know, and her father, she loves her father, she feels a very strong feeling after being taught with Isaac Anderson, Mr. Greatheart, that she should educate her slaves. You know, Isaac Anderson was a man, but beyond, you know, way before his time. He educated Indians and free slaves at the time. But no one ever had the right to educate the plantation owner slaves unless they got permission, because at that time they were considered the property of their owner. You know, so what Maggie did, deciding to go ahead, and she did it behind her father's back to do it, because she felt like with everything coming in, you know, with John Brown and all the other problems that were coming up, that they would need to know this. So she did this behind their backs, and then other slaves joined hers. And she knew if she was found out, she would go to jail, and worse. You know, tar and feathering would be an option for sure. You know, and so she did it because of her conscience. She felt like God was telling her to do this, and she had to do what she needed to do. You know, and then that's when she, you know, other things happened in the book when she meets Ben. And she realizes if she hadn't done any of this, she never would have met him. And he made a strong impact on her life. And she realized what was important in life, what wasn't important in life. And that made a huge change in her feelings and in her outlook. And then there's Ben McConnell, who is an Irish immigrant straight off the boat. And he has his dreams. He wants to own his own land. And here is this land of opportunity, of liberty. And of course, him and his dad find out the truth, that it's not going to be easy, because there's signs all over the place saying no Irish need apply. So he takes the ad that says life-threatening work. He gets a crew together and says, hey, you know what? starving is life-threatening too. Let's go, men. And they do it.
Yeah, I thought that was clever. He said, if you're gonna,
they just
we can do this
all right, run away. Yeah, it is amazing.
I love his what has the word colloquisms? I love his colloquisms as a book too.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I remember the Irish wisdom, and actually my husband is part Irish and part German, and so I could, that Irish temper they always talk about, and the Irish steadfastness. So I really kind of saw some of that in Ben as I was reading your story. Just that, just some of that. So that was kind of fun. That was kind of fun. So. I said, yeah, he's Irish. That's the first thing I was thinking because I married one.
I know.
And I got two ethnic groups, the Irish and the German. So you got stoic and you got hot temper clashing into one guy. And so we'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary on Friday.
Oh,
so
fantastic. Congratulations. My mother, because my mother was Scotch, Irish, and English, and my dad was French and German. I'll tell you what a combination that makes in a household.
Oh, yeah.
But the Irish won out on the German, I tell you that much.
Right. What I like about what I really enjoy about this is I like how Step Into Destiny puts us there. And one of the things that I know you have in there, of course I'll have you expand further on there, is one thing that you have is going against what is the popular opinion, going against that status quo, going against what you perceive to be right, because God is going to ignite inside of you, like He ignited it inside of Maggie. He ignited, this is wrong, and I love you, Dad. I love you, but this is wrong.
Yeah.
Or I love you, Mom. Or for anyone else out there, I love you, but this is wrong, and God ignites that within us. And so I like how in Step Into Destiny you show her on this smaller plane, but she's part of this bigger story. And the reason why is because God sees the 360-degree view while we only see the 90-degree view in front of us. And we're caught in this turmoil. And we can all now all of us can look back and see, oh, these are the mistakes that happened. But at the time, you think you're making the right decision, or you think your viewpoint is correct, and to find out that you're wrong, that's hard. It's kind of hard to believe. So I really like how you have conflict in there. But what are some of the other themes that you discuss throughout the book with Step Into Destiny?
Well, one of them is found on page 77, but you guys have to read the book to find it out. I will say this. This is one of them, Galatians 5:1. What Maggie's mother says is, we are all slaves by choice to our evil natures when sin abides. And then and she says, as Galatians 5:1 states, stand fast therefore in the liberty wherewith Christ has made us free, and be not entangled with the yoke of bondage. And she continues that, you see, only Jesus can set us free from the bondage of Satan's yoke. And I think that is one of my main themes in there. We can't do it on our own. We can't.
Amen.
We can't be good on our own. We need Jesus. We need His Word. And I put a lot of scripture in there because we need the Word, and it flows quite well, because without it, we're empty shells. We can't fight Satan or even the politics of this world without Him. With Him, anything's impossible. Nothing is impossible. We can do it all because God's got our back and our front. He's surrounding us.
Amen.
Oh dear. Yeah.
I like how you said that, and I know there's a lot of scripture in here, and for some of those, it's so funny because as Christian authors, one of the things that come up a lot is how much scripture should you put in a Christian fiction novel. And I said, you do what you and the Lord decide. I said, because there are people, if you put the word man, they'll say it's too much. So, and then there are some you can have scripture going all through it, and they'll be like, it's too much scripture and all this other stuff. So you do what the Lord have you to do,
Yeah, I tell you, I've been so.
Good,
yeah, because I've been very blessed with my first book, Wolves of Dandelions, and then was swept with the comments I've got. They said it's not preachy; it just flows right in there. I mean, you're almost hungering for the word at the time, at the end, So I mean, and I give that to the Lord too, because actually I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for the Lord, in writing. I feel like He's inspiring me to do this, and so willingly I do it. I mean, what else could have been? I thought I was doing a great deed, bringing my grandmother in my house. I found out I got repaid a lot more than she got, from all of this. It's a God thing. It's definitely a God thing. It really is. The other theme I have going through it is conscience and consequence. Maggie and Ben often find themselves with their, and I'm telling you, the more you use the more you listen to God, the more God's going to show you which path to take. There's a consequence, but it always ends to the good, and that's what we have to understand. If we go the other way, God help us. Anyways, I try to show this in my book. There's other characters in there. Some I don't like at all, but they're in there, and that's where their conscience. They didn't listen to their conscience. Look what happened, And I mean, you can't make, you can't fool God. I mean, he's there, and I would just say, read the book. You'll see a lot of historical facts, and you'll see what happened to these guys. Ones that obeyed and ones that didn't obey, and what happened. Who would you choose to be? That's the thing. I know Ben said on one page, he says, "I am lost, Maggie, my last, lost upon the sea of conscience and consequence, like an Irish comrade I cannot turn away." And it's what it is. Once you get in the path with the Lord, God's going to keep you steady, and He's going to get you through it too. So that's a blessing in the end for everybody. If they just will take the one step. Every step leads to another step, and it's an awesome experience. You have to check out Ben and Maggie's, time and what happened to them. That's the one thing you have to realize, that some things, they are fictitious characters, but yet Lincoln and Grant and the other people there are not. So that kind of really proves history right through there, and what these people experienced.
I like that, Kathy. One thing I like about historical fiction is that you can have conversations with people of history. I love that aspect of historical fiction. You kind of wonder, what would I say for myself? I wasn't born around that time, but what would I have said to Martin Luther King? What would I have said to some of these people? What would I have said to them? I don't know. And I just like that aspect. And sometimes in historical fiction, you can visit these people that you admire in a different way than just read, like I said, reading a history book. What I want to do is take a quick break. For those of you who are hanging online, if you want to talk and ask a question, you certainly can. Simply call in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air. If you're holding online, just press 1. I'll get your question or your comment for Kathy. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, more with Kathy Brakefield and her new release, Swept into Destiny.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
God gives humans the gift of making amazing stories to glorify Him. At SpeculativeFaith.com, our ministry is to help fans explore fantasy, science fiction, supernatural stories, and beyond from an intentional and biblical Christian perspective. We share daily articles and have extensive archives tackling hot topics like end times beliefs, the art of writing, creative excellence in the Christian subcultures, discernment, sex, magic, Harry Potter, and space aliens and the Bible. If you are a parent or anyone else with a discriminating palate, our reviewers explore fantastical novels, movies, television, and games in light of God's beauty, goodness, and truth. Want to find Christian stories? The Spec Faith Library lists every fantastical novel we can find from a Christian author. It's all part of our mission to discern, engage, and enjoy fantastical human creativity in honor of our Creator, Jesus Christ. SpeculativeFaith.com, exploring fantastical stories for God's glory.
Are you a reader looking for more compelling Christian fiction? Maybe something a little more edgy or a bit more real? Are you tired of most Christian fiction shying away from the truth and settling for a rose-tinted view of the world and its issues? Or are you an author who has a compelling story to tell, but you're afraid it doesn't jive with today's brand of Christian or secular fiction? Are you tired of Christian publishers telling you that your content is too edgy? Or maybe you've tried submitting your content under the radar to secular publishers only to be told your themes are a bit too religious? We invite you to take a look at the Crossover Alliance. We are an online publishing company that specializes in edgy Christian speculative fiction with Christian themes and real-world content. Our company is formed from authors and readers just like you who are breaking into the mainstream and Christian markets with this compelling genre. Head over to the www.thecrossoveralliance.com for all the details on who we are, what we do, and what we accept. Right now, if you sign up for our email newsletter, you'll receive a free digital copy of our first short story anthology. Check us out today and help us spread the word about the Crossover Alliance, where light shines brighter in the darkness.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. We have been having a fantastic time talking to my guest co-host and contributor today, Catherine Brakefield. She is the author of a new book from Cross River Media called Swept into Destiny. Let me tell you, this book has it all: excitement, romance, conflict, adventure, great sensory details. Everything you want in the book is in this book, Swept into Destiny. I want you to go ahead right now, go to your Kindle, get a copy of this book today. It dropped down today from Cross River Media. Let me tell you, you will not be disappointed. I have the pleasure of receiving an ARC copy of it. Let me tell you, I wasn't disappointed at all. The book is such a wonderful, wonderful read. It's her fifth offering as an author, and so I'm really glad Catherine here is with us. One thing that we've been talking about is that when you listen to the Lord, He's going to guide you in the right direction. And she's using the vehicle of historical fiction to let us see how that looks like. And one thing about Swept to Destiny is that it's not just a regular historical read. It's a very deep, thought-provoking, but it doesn't feel like that. You actually, when you finish reading some aspects of it, you kind of go like, that made a lot of sense. Or, wow, I can't believe she had to do that. He had to do that. Wow, what happened here? All these kind of thoughts are going to go through your head. But I don't want to spoil it for you. Go ahead, get a copy of Swept to Destiny today. It's available on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. You won't be disappointed. Kathy, once again, thanks for joining me on the show to talk about your new book. What I wanted to do is kind of get what some of the early feedback has been about Swept into Destiny. What kind of feedback have you gotten? How have readers responded to it?
It really just got out today. So the reviewers I got back in, I had some great reviews. In fact, one of them said, Cindy Irvin Huff, she was the author of Secrets and Charades. She wrote, I have a privilege to get a sneak peek at Catherine Aldrich Brakefield's new novel, and what a treat. Swept into Destiny is a wonderful historical romance that gives the reader a glimpse into the Irish immigrants of the Civil War. This well-researched story moves along like the splendor of Gone with the Wind. We experience life in the plantation, life as a poor Irish, and life in a divided nation and the war devastation that changed the culture. Ben McConnell is a wonderful character who portrays the best of the Irish spirit, and Maggie Gatlin, the heart of Southern charity. Catherine has captured the determined nature of the Irish, their perseverance amid extreme difficulties, the Irish song lyrics on the battlefield added to a creation of the brave warriors willing to sacrifice their lives for their new beginning in a new land. Then Rick Barry writes of Methuselah Project, Catherine Brakefield slipped into destiny, breathed new life into the years before and during the Civil War, a time when unstoppable forces clashed and changed the United States forever. Some of Brakefield's characters you'll love, others you'll hate for the scoundrels they are. But through it all, you'll hold your breath and hope the main characters can survive and find love despite turbulent events swirling around them. So I'm encouraged.
I like that. Yeah, it's like, I must have did pretty well. It makes it wonderful when you hear those reviews. And I appreciate how it says a turbulent times, because events outside of yourself, like, as a couple, for me being married, as a couple, you wish that it could be just you and him in a little bubble somewhere on the island somewhere where you don't have to be bothered by anything. But unfortunately, it doesn't do that for us. And God said, in this life, you will have trouble. It's going to happen, And how do you survive in the midst of turbulent times? Especially in Swept into Destiny, we're not talking about just their issues. We're talking about issues happening over a nation. Like, this is getting heated up. This is civil war coming about. This is what's happening. And so one of the aspects I like is that they have to persevere through that. And I even think, even though it's kind of a tangent topic to our discussion about Swept into Destiny, having that strong relationship with God, and that's going to help you get through the tough times. And sometimes the tough times are external. They're not always internal. You guys have a relationship, but it's external factors that are going to involve that. Wouldn't you say so, Catherine?
Yes, indeed. I mean, let's face it, both sides are praying to the same God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the hardest thing, I think, because and many, when I found out, the great thing is that my grandmother was from Kentucky and my husband was from Alabama. So I got to go back down and learn more about how the Southerner feels. And many of them did not want to succeed from the Union. Many of them did not even own a slave, Yet they were thrust into this environment, and they went because of their loyalty to the South. Whereas that's the way Maggie feels. She doesn't want to leave this great United States. She doesn't want it divided up, but yet she's forced to because of loyalty. And and they don't know, God, where are you? What? And then it's devastating what happens afterwards. But in it all, they never lost their faith in God. They lost their faith in the North, because then they had the carpetbaggers come in, and they, many times they would lose their land. It was devastating, But in it all, they survived. I often wonder when I reread and did more research. I said, how did they survive? Because you understand when battles were coming in and the soldiers needed food, they pilfered from the people that were there, from their farms. So that left the people hardly anything to eat, getting through winter and everything. They took their horses, they took their mules, they took everything they had. So it was devastating, but they persevered all the way through it. I mean, it's just amazing when you think back. I mean, I even, to make sure everything was accurate, when it got real hot, I closed up the doors and I said something. See, how would you feel like, you're sweltering, you're trying to cook.
Yes.
Find something, really. It is, it gets hot, and, in the battle scenes too. I mean, what do you feel like? For instance, I know from experience, you don't move a horse overnight.
No.
I raised horses for 40 years, and I've had times when, I had one little foal that died. We were in tears, and honestly, it was terrible because it died in the stall, and rigor mortis set in, and it was terrible. And I thought, there's going to be dead horses in the battlefield too. What do they do? It was, it was a real process going through and realizing, hey, that had to have been terrible. Hey, that had to have been even worse, because they didn't have machinery to move anything.
No.
Brute force. We're talking about no tractors.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking, you said that the foal that you had died, a baby horse that died, and I jump when I see a fly. So I know I'm not I'm not a country girl. If I see a fly, I'm running the other direction. It doesn't matter. I'm 3 million times bigger than it is. It's a fly. I don't like nature that way. I figure if you're in my house, you'll get killed. Every fly, I'm like, you didn't have to come in here. You didn't have to be in here. You have the whole house for. I don't intrude on your territory. Why are you in my house? So I usually get the hairspray and spray a fly to death, some hairspray or something, But and here you're talking about you saw a horse die, and I'm not good in the medical emergency by any means.
It was terrible. Yeah.
It was
one was enough for me, I'll tell you. Oh goodness, it was terrible.
I can imagine. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, when I saw the horse at the Renaissance Festival, and it looked at me. Maybe it probably wasn't even looking at me, but I felt like it looked at me. I was like, "We're done." That is the as far as I possibly can. I don't like animals that's taller than me. I even saw a Irish wolfhound taller than me, and I was like, "We're done." I don't like animals standing over me. So, I'm not going to feel like this is Godzilla and I'm the little people running from it, So I really like the realness of Swept into Destiny. This has a lot of detail, and I'm encouraging our listeners and our readers out there, get a copy of Swept into Destiny, and you're going to get one aspect of history that you may not have known. Like some people may not have known that Irish people were considered white slaves. Some people may not know that Irish people were just as persecuted and just as dogged down as African Americans. Some people may not know that, And this is history that you can know. If you didn't know that, that's why history is important for you to know that, so you don't think one side of the story. Now, some people say, well, no one was treated worse than so-and-so. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, everybody done did something to somebody. You can go to Asia, you go to the Middle East, you can go to the West, you can go to India. Someone did something to somebody, so you can't act as if we have, as one ethnic group has the banner for the worst persecutor. Everyone's done something to everybody. Have there been various degrees? Yes. I totally agree. There have been various degrees of persecution, yes. But no one has we were the rough ones. Every ethnic group has their own cultural history that they cling to. And so that's one thing that I liked about Swept into Destiny, was that you showed us a different side of the South, because a lot of times, depending on who you're talking to, the South is depicted in a way that is not flattering. But like I was told very drastically one day, a whole way of life was destroyed in the South. A whole way of life was destroyed. Like you said, some owners never even had slaves, And then some of them also would never mistreat people. I'm not saying everybody was, because that would be whitewashing it. Some people were very cruel to slaves, And then, of course, you have those narratives of African Americans after emancipation. They shared their stories of slavery, and some of those stories you go, whoa. That I couldn't even begin to imagine. But then that's the whole thing about history. It brings all these various viewpoints together to create this narrative that we don't want to forget. That's what's happening now. We're forgetting the history because we're not involved in it. And we forget the history, like you said earlier in broadcast, we're going to make the same mistakes. Right, Kathy?
Yeah, right. And the worst part is that a lot of times even the modern history books will not tell you all of the history. You know, they want to do it one side, but it's fine. But you really need to know all of it, and you judge. I mean, it's not that is behind us. Let's go forward and embrace what the future that the Lord has for us. You know what I'm saying? And that's the most important part. We'll all find the immigrant story. People coming over, they were all they were surprised, they were abused, they were used. A lot of people were in bond servants, and they were abused. But I mean, it can go on and on. But the idea is, okay, Lord, how do I get over this? What do you want me to do? How do I get away above this hurdle? Let me climb over this mountain and get me on the other side of your grace. And that's the most important thing to realize. And also, like the Irish did with their Celtic cross, hey, it's not about this life; it's about the next life. And that never dies. I mean, what we do on this earth is gonna help us, the Lord, determine what we're going to do in the next life for our work. But it's exciting because it's like a football game. Like we're in a football field, and we got the Lord's side and we got Satan's side, and say, okay, and no one can handle your ball, your position better than you can. If you fumble that ball, you hurt the team. We all have a place, a purpose that God's put us here for a reason. We're all different, and God did it for a reason. He's got a special purpose for you, and you don't want to fumble the ball. You've got to listen to His word. You got to get into it, and you got to say, "Hey, God, I'm in bad trouble here. What do you want me to do with this?" And then let Him tell you. You can get out of it, just like Ben did. Just like Maggie did, and that's the most important part. Oh, and I got to tell you, one of my characters I wasn't even planning on having, and he jumped off the page at me, was Jacob. Remember Jacob?
Oh, my goodness.
I never planned on him being there. He just all of a sudden, bam, there he was. I said, wow, where'd you come from? And
I love that's the part about being a writer I love, when the characters
isn't it awesome? I think it's a God thing again, though, because I thought, well, Lord, you're right. He fits in really good here, and then Jacob, I mean, my goodness, and Ben didn't want him, and, because he didn't want any slaves, because he wanted to do everything himself, but here was Jacob, and then they became best friends. In fact, Jacob was the one that brought him and Maggie back together, My goodness, it was just amazing how important this character became, and I didn't even plan him.
I love the creative flow, as I love it about writing. And we got a comment from Erica in Rochester. Erica, thank you for your comment. She replies, "I will definitely check out your book. I never knew Irish were considered white slaves." Erica, thank you so much for your comment. Did you want to talk about that real quick, Catherine?
Well, we never talked about that much in my home because both my parents were Irish, but they did. The crazy thing is that I never found out about this in a history book. It was my mother that told me, Kathy, the Irish did the work the slaves were too good to do, and they didn't even have a home to go to. They didn't have food. I mean, whatever pennies they got, they had to get their own food, where the slaves had a cabin, had their food, had their clothing, but the Irish moved on. Once that job was done, they had to move on and make do with the best they could, and finding shelter. I mean, I never forget. I just went to Kentucky this winter, and I was telling him about my new book, and he says, "Well, yeah, that stone wall you just passed, the Irish immigrants did that wall." I said, "You're kidding." He says, "Oh, no." And he said, "I didn't learn about that either, and here I lived here all my life till I got to college, and they told us, yeah, the Irish immigrants put that wall up." Can you imagine lugging these rocks by yourself? Maybe you'd have one horse, but you would still drag it, load it and unload it, and still lift them and put them in place. It's a lot of work, and they didn't get much pay, and they didn't get any hospitalization.
And just for
but they
everyone
did
who's
it.
listening, for anyone who's listening, please, we're not trying to downplay anything about African Americans who were slaves. Don't please misunderstand that. We're just saying that. Also, there, it wasn't just one, because even Native Americans were the first slaves here. They were the first slaves. They got. I always thought they got the one of the hard end of the sticks, because they got killed by the diseases and everything that Europeans brought over. So that's what I'm saying. No one has this banner.
No one's got a right. Definitely. We're not playing down anyone. Yeah.
We're not trying to make light of anyone's persecution. Please understand that. I want to just kind of clarify that as we get ready to end our show. We're just saying that there's other parts of history too that we should all be aware of. We should all be aware of this, And just like if you were on the other side knowing about African Americans who were treated during slavery time, Irish people, Native Americans, let's go to the 1940s, the Japanese internment camps. Let's go to Koreans. Let's go to the Middle East, how women were treated. I mean, we can all go there. That's what I'm saying. So when we talk about being sent to destiny, there's a bigger picture here. We don't know what these persecutions all bring about, but we know eventually it's all going to come away, that the Lord's going to do away with it all. That's what we're all looking forward to. And that's what I like about us swept into destiny. But Kathy, we are almost out of time. And so I want you to let people know what your next projects are and where they can find you online.
Okay. My next project, this is Swept into Destiny, is the first book of a 4-book series. And they were all inspired by the stories my grandmother told me, but they're still they're still just a work of fiction. But I'm presently working on the second book, Into Destiny's Whirlwind. This will begin in the 1898, right before the Spanish-American War, during the Gibson era. It's very romantic era. Yep. And then the next book will. Yes, that'll be a fun book to talk about too. And the next book will be spanning World War I and the Great Depression, and the fourth book will be World War II. And also, I must tell you, before I forget, each book of the Destiny series will have a book club discussion questions in the back of the book, that you can read and discuss with that. It might be very interesting, and a lot of historical things in there. And so that's the most important thing. It should be, I know my book is found in crossrivermedia.com. It's found in Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and I believe it'll be in Christian. There's another Christian group that has it. Christian.com, I think. ChristianBooks.com, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I know Swift is in there. Yeah. Yeah, so anywhere books are sold, honestly, that's where you can find it. But I tell you, just keep just be encouraged. But what SWEP shows everybody, even every ethnic group, just be encouraged by this, because we've all started low, but we all rose high in America. And that's something to remember, that, this nation under God has really served, has really managed to bring together a lot of ethnic groups. But we're all united now under one flag. And that's something to remember, to know that with God all things are possible. All we need is a little mustard seed of faith there.
And Kathy, I want people to know where they can find you online.
On my webpage, it's Catherine with a C, Catherine, Ulrich, Ulrich, Brakefield, BRAKEFIELD.com. And also my Facebook, again, my author Facebook is Catherine Ulrich Brakefield. I put mostly everything about book signings up there, and know where I am at all times. I would love to see you at a book signing. I've got one coming up in Addison Township Library this Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'll be there. And again at the Celtic Clove, that'll be in Oxford too, on M24. And that will be on my webpage. You can find the address there really easily.
Kathy, once again, thank you so much for being with us on the show today. I really, really enjoyed our time, and I can't wait to have you back real soon.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoy being with you, too. You're a blessing already. You're such a strong Christian. I can see it in your words. God bless you for inviting me, and I look forward to seeing you again.
And we were talking today to Catherine Brakefield. She is the author of the wonderful, absolutely glorious On the Par with Gone with the Wind book, Swept into Destiny, is part 1 of 4 books of the Destiny series, where she's going to travel through Destiny with us with all her characters. So definitely stay tuned to Catherine's book and her bookshelf. If you want to follow her online, simply go to her website, CatherineUlrich.com. That's Catherine with a C, Ulrich, U-L-R-I-C-H, Brakefield.com. You will not be disappointed. Go ahead, Loving My Sister today. Get a copy of her book today. You are going to enjoy it. Like I said in the broadcast, I had the honor of getting an ARC copy, and let me tell you, it's just as good as we talked about and as we said it is. And once you finish reading the book, let her know what you thought about it. Go ahead and leave a review. Reviews help us breathe at night. Authors learn how to better their writing, and authors love reviews. It lets us know we can improve, or if you like what we did, let us know we can continue to keep doing that. So thank you so much, Catherine, for that wonderful book, Swept into Destiny. Don't forget to keep it here on PJC Media. On Sundays, we have Dovetails with Deborah at 2:30 p.m. On Mondays, we have the Marriage Playbook with Coaches Eric and Fran. Yours truly back on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. And then don't forget to talk about it all with Jenny White on Fridays at 8 p.m. And then let me end off the week with the Parker J. Cole Show at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the best network in the land, the PJC Media family. Thank you for joining me. I am the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J., and you have a wonderful, absolutely glorious, blessed day.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of The Right Stuff. Follow Parker online at parkerjcole.com. To hear this show and other shows, visit the show archive at therightstuffradio.wordpress.com. We'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.